hello, I should know, actually, let me say it in Wolof, yeah? Nakasubasi. That's in Wolof, that's my greeting for, hi, how are you, how's the morning? So I'm saying greetings here to my Bla Xit family. I'm here, Juliet, again with another episode of our Bla Xit vlog. And I want to thank you all for subscribing, liking and sharing. Basically, Makonnen Sankofa, is that correct?
Yes.
Is here with us today, Bla Xit family. You asked me for more interviews with people from the diaspora. So in answer to your request, I'm speaking with this lovely young man who's here in Gambia. And I asked him, could I interview him? Only to find out, not only is this young man an author, and he's written a brilliant book called The Rise of Rastafari, which you can buy on Amazon. And but he's also a journalist. He was also a top salesman in the UK, and wow, his accomplishments are just endless, to be honest with you. And I shouldn't be saying, you should be saying it, but we'll be here all day with your accomplishments, to be honest with you. It'll take up the whole interview. So just a quick, if you wouldn't mind just telling everybody in the Bla Xit family, if you wouldn't mind telling them, you're part of the Bla Xit family too, of course.
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind just telling them why you're here and what you're doing in the Gambia, and why you think people should come back to the Gambia, and tell them a bit about your book as well.
Okay, so this is my third time in the Gambia. I first came in the Gambia in December. I came back again in February. This time I'm in the Gambia to spend more time. So the idea was to spend at least 6 months in the Gambia, and then to see if there was any opportunities where I could possibly stay longer. So I stayed 6 months during my time there to do a bit of research, because obviously previous when I've been here, I'd only been here for a week each time. So now was like to do more research and to see what opportunities were available in the Gambia. I think you can only really live somewhere before you make a decision about necessarily what you're going to do. So that's really the main reason I'm here to do, and to see what opportunities there may be here. In terms of why I chose the Gambia, it doesn't have to be the Gambia, it could be any of the 54 countries in Africa. I came to Gambia the first time in December. I came with my friend Justin Mohammed. We've been speaking about Ghana for a long time, about going to Ghana, but this time when he was travelling, he said he was travelling to Gambia, so I made myself available to come with him, and I fell in love with the country when I was here. I thought the people here were so warm and friendly and welcoming, and it's a beautiful country, the Gambia.
Yeah, it is very beautiful.
Another thing that I liked in the Gambia was seeing that the cohesion of how people are and how people stick together and have like a community structure. So whether you go to the people's compound or whether you just see them all eating out of the same bowl, and you see people that greet you. You can have like a little child who's 6, 7 who will come up to you and say hello uncle, and they'll shake your hand and greet you. So that was something I really like. I mean, in England you get the sense that people don't really care about people, because you could live next to someone for 15, 10 years and you don't even know who your next door neighbour is.
Exactly.
It's that kind of mentality. I mean, where I'm living at the moment in the Gambia, I live in a block of flats. Downstairs there's shops, salon, there's people that fix cars, but it's a big community. Everyone talks to each other, says hello, everyone knows the neighbours, etc. So it's got that community environment. I think when our parents from the Caribbean or grandparents from the Caribbean came to England following the Windrush, during the Windrush generation, I think they took a lot of that. They had a community, the spirit of cohesion, the spirit that came from the Caribbean, but during time we've lost that. We've more assimilated into English society, and we've taken on obviously British values and British culture, and you see a lot of Black or Africans now, and you see Europeans, and a lot of them doing the same things, acting the same way, and etc. So we've assimilated into society, and often to the expense of our culture, because we're in England and we're a minority, and obviously Europeans are the majority in there. We've lost a lot of our heritage and our culture by integration. And I think when obviously you come to Gambia, it's refreshing that the majority of the people here are African. I've never seen a black pharmacy before I come here, because pharmacies I see in England, I don't normally see black people that own them. So even we live in an unnatural state, whether it's through like businesses. Yes, there is black business in England, but I'm saying on a larger mass scale. If you look at all the main corporations, the main businesses, whether you go Tesco, Sainsbury's, whether you go Sports Direct, whether you go BHS, all of the big corporations, they're all owned externally. They're all externally owned. Now, when I mean you come to Gambia, and it's refreshing, we see African-owned restaurants, African-owned pharmacies, African-owned industries. Everything here is black-owned, and that's it's very good that we can see that, because you can't live in an environment where, or if I was to have a kid that I'm 28 years old, I would want to have my kids live in an environment where he sees people that look like him in positions of power. If we look at England, whether it's through, we rely on everyone, whether it's through education, people teaching us, whether it's through politically. Obviously, England's never had a black prime minister, and it's very unlikely they will. Whether even you can have a black prime minister, whether that's going to change things for better for black people as well. Whether it is now military, whether it's policing. So we're always relying on other people financially. So it's very, very important that we be more self-sufficient and independent. And I mentioned that in my book, The Rise of Rastafari. I mean, this is also what's inspired me to come to Africa. One of the main goals of Rastafari is repatriation, and it's all about people, African people, finding their heritage, their roots, and building a nation, living off of the legacy of people like Makonnen Sankofa and the Back to Africa movement, and who also set up the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, which had millions of black people from the diaspora and also on the continent, and they had several different businesses, and he also had the Black Star Line, which was the intention to take back people back to the motherland. So it's following the legacy of people like Makonnen Sankofa, one of our greatest Pan-Africanists, and living on the legacy, and for us to be independent and to look towards repatriation to Africa is the ultimate goal, to help uplift the motherland. Not saying that Africa is already beautiful the way it is. So
really is.
What I want to say is that we're not also coming with a mindset of like, everything's bad. We're coming from European, some kind of better mentality. There's people, wherever there is in Europe, there's in Africa.
Yes.
So we need to understand that as well. So we should be coming here as more of a 50-50, how we look at the people in Africa. It's not that we're better or they're better than us. It's like we can help you with this, they can help us with this. So I think it's important we maintaining that 50-50 relationship and integration as well, because even if we're coming here to set up businesses, we're not Lebanese, we're not Chinese, so we're not just coming here to set up a business and to take money from Africa. We're coming to actually to keep that money in Africa.
Yes.
And we're also coming here not just for business, but also for relationships, whether that is relationships, friendships, whether it's just local people that we talk to and say hello to, whether it is getting into families, whether it's through marriage or that kind of relationships. But that whole full integration is very important that we make as well, because we are returnees to Africa. We are not tourists. We are not coming with tourists. We are returning Africans. They took us away from Africa to places like the Caribbean and the Americas. Now we've come back after 400 years. Now we are in a privileged position because our ancestors didn't have the opportunity to come back to Africa.
Exactly.
That we've had. So this can't be taken for granted. Also, I'm 28. If I look at say my parents' generation, when my dad was born in Africa on the continent, he's from Malawi. My mum, speaking from my mum's family, they're from the Caribbean, from Jamaica. Now, during that time, say for example, maybe like the 60s or the 50s, when they would have been growing, my mum would have been 70s, mum would have been growing up. A lot of African countries were in more turmoil through colonialization.
Yes.
So now, a lot of African countries are a lot more stable, they're in more stable positions. And African countries are growing in terms of economy, are some of the fastest economic growing countries in the world.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's a fact.
So if you see the development, and it doesn't have to be just, I'm not talking just Gambia, because obviously things are developing in Gambia, but you can also go to places like Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia. If you go over the whole of Africa, Zambia, people that haven't necessarily come to Africa, they will be shocked when they come to Africa, because there are certain things in Africa that are more advanced than there are in Europe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, he has got his wise head on young shoulders. Yeah? Your ancestors have definitely guided you here. There's no doubt about it. And you know, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, and we're here on the mission of our ancestors because our ancestors died so that we should be here. And it's not about forget this, it's important. And I think with the current climate, and I have to touch on, you know, pay my respects to Robert Mugabe, who is now an ancestor. You know, I even had, you know, a sibling, a brother who was called Mugabe. That's how deeply entrenched, you know, my father was to the politic of Africa for the Africans. And, you know, he started something, regardless of all of the, you know, sanctions that they put, you know, against Zimbabwe. It's wickedness. It's wickedness, I think, what was done. And these things, you know, how do you get payback for that? You know, but, you know, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of negative things about Robert Mugabe, but I've got to say the man was a living legend. And giving back to us what was ours and what is due is very important. And that leads me on to reparations, okay? And I also want to talk a little bit about what's going on in South Africa with you, because obviously it's very topical at the moment and people are saying this, they're saying that. But, you know, from my perspective, part of reparations is repair, self-repair. So, and that touches on both Robert Mugabe and South Africa. So I just want to know, what's your take on the current situation?
It's very, very, very bad what's happening in South Africa. This is a subject not just that I follow quite a lot what's happening in South Africa and Zimbabwe, because there's a lot of comparisons that you can draw between the two countries. I mean, both of them, obviously South Africa having apartheid, Zimbabwe happened, albeit not called apartheid, it was pretty much apartheid in Zimbabwe as well under Ian Smith, and then you had Mandela on one hand, Mugabe and others on the other hand. Both different leaders had different philosophies, but we've seen obviously in Zimbabwe how the Western media has condemned Robert Mugabe. He was the hero of. They looked at him as a hero. He was knighted prior to African people getting the land back. So as soon as Mugabe and ZANU-PF redistributed that land back, what caused some of the suffering? And I say some of it because if you speak to some people in Zimbabwe, they're benefited because of they've got land and they're more empowered. But this is the part we don't see on the news or the media. But as soon as they impose those sanctions, that's what helped to cripple that country. If England or America had those sanctions, if England couldn't do trade with any other country in Europe, if England had their credit frozen, if England weren't getting any money from the World Bank and loans were stopped, England would suffer. England would be crippled.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
So anywhere would be crippled in that kind of situation.
You'd be dumb.
Yeah. So it's these sanctions that were placed on Zimbabwe, which left Zimbabwe in some of the problems, not all, that it's facing. But it's no doubt what Robert Mugabe, certainly on a moral right, he did the correct thing to give the African people their land back, which was due. And even if you look at how the process of Robert Mugabe, they tried to work together with the British people. They had the Lancaster Agreement. If you go and look at the Lancaster Agreement, which was agreed by the British, to compensate for the land that was taken.
Exactly.
But it's only when Tony Blair refused to give compensation for the money to the Zimbabweans that the military then approached Mugabe and they said, well, hold on, we're in Zimbabwe and we don't have anything, and these people over here that have invaded our country have got all of this benefit in it, and Zimbabwe's thinking, and Mugabe's thinking, well, try to negotiate with him, nothing's happening. He probably had to think at that time that there could have been a good chance of a military coup happening had he not allowed the military to take back the land, because that wasn't Mugabe's initial idea, it was the military. So he allowed the military to take back the land and said that he wouldn't kill them. He said he wouldn't prosecute them.
Yes.
He wouldn't arrest them for anything. And then as things things happened, then more and more land started to get taken back. But I mean, in terms of taking back the land, there's loads of people that have benefited it. Not that I know, and people that have done research that in terms of the farms. I mean, we're under the impression that when the Europeans that came in, they had the farms, whether it's in South Africa and Zimbabwe, that everything was fine and this, that, and the other, and how the economy was in the country. But who was that economy benefiting? Was that economy betting the local Zimbabwean people, or was it benefiting their brothers, the other white people, the Afrikaners in South Africa, or the people in the white people in Europe? Was it benefiting the local African people? So African people now to be empowered to have their own land, and the myths that people say that it was given to Robert Mugabe's cronies is a lie, because there's a guy that I read up on that did research on it, and he works for even the BBC, and we can't obviously accuse the BBC of being pro-African, pan-African, and he even said for himself a small percent, about 5% was given to people closely affiliated to Robert Mugabe, but the rest of it went to the poor people in Zimbabwe that needed that land, that needed somewhere to farm so they could provide for themselves. So the majority of the redistribution in Zimbabwe, there's loads, there's documentation, if you talk to people, what happened in Zimbabwe was a big success story, because those people took back control of the country, and even, for example, if they didn't recognize the benefit from it straight away, the benefit would happen within time. Let's just remember, when Zimbabwe was invaded, it wasn't all of a sudden white people had their land and they got wealthy and they made money out of it. And who was teaching them how to utilize and who to use the farm? When they talk about the African people, they can't farm the land, etc. It was the African people that taught the European how to farm on the land in the first place. So if you look at Zimbabwe, a lot of the policies that Mugabe put in place, for example, whether it's through certain industries, that 51% of in my view, 51% of the investment had to be 51% Gambia Zimbabwean owned.
Yes.
So it stops foreign people from taking over all the business and monopolizing Zimbabwe. And what Robert Mugabe stood for as a leader, for someone to stand up to the West and say Zimbabwean for the Zimbabweans.
Yes.
Very similar to Marcus Garvey when he said Africa for the Africans. It's got that
home and abroad.
Those two fantastic ancestors, Pan-African leaders.
Yes.
Robert Mugabe has definitely inspired me greatly. He's been one of my significant African leaders, certainly of this generation that I've looked up to with great admiration.
Do you know what? I've got to say, when I heard about the land reclamation, I felt so empowered. I just felt like it's time. How much more can people take from us? And we just, turn the other cheek. Yeah. So, lastly, because we're going to close now, fam. He's so engaging that I can't stop talking to him. But, Bla Xit family, I just want to talk about, what's happening in South Africa, because I think, the way I see it is, these people with machines and ties should be waiting outside, the diamond mines and the De Beers, and all of these companies that have been exploiting Africa for so many years. But the question is it down to our own self-hatred, which has been caused by years and years and years of colonisation, slavery, apartheid, and the damage that's been done to us has never, ever been healed? We haven't healed from it. So, in one sense, the lack of opportunities is also caused by the white man. And I said it's been caused by them. So many of these problems are caused by them. When I saw how the BBC filmed some of their footage, they went to the place where there was the most rubbish and the most dirty water, and I had them all pitched there, and you could see where they could say, yeah, that's a good view, because you could have gone to Joburg or Cape Town and done an interview there and put them in some nice clothes. It would have shown a completely different perspective. So it's about, you were a journalist, and so, you are a journalist, I should say, because I know you're here making a documentary. Yes. It's about how we frame things, and also the whole story in South Africa. I do not believe that one man has the right to take the life of another. Yeah, an African man has got the right to take the life of another African. Let me frame it that way.
Yes.
And so, you know, for me, it's a little bit heart-wrenching to see that, you know, whether, you know, that we are doing that to each other, and we are all wholly responsible because, you know, we can also invest in South Africa and create opportunities. So, you know, just a quick line, because I think, you know, that's my signal to roll up. So, yeah.
Yes, I mean, the situation of what's happening in South Africa is an absolute disgrace. It's a perfect example of anti-Pan-Africanism working, because in South Africa, obviously a lot of the crimes are committed to people of African countries, whether in Nigeria, Ethiopia, etc. Now, they don't look at other African people, yeah, and they don't look at this concept of Pan-Africanism, something that they're missing in South Africa. They just look at we're South African, and that's it, South Africa. So whether you're from Europe or whether you're from Africa, they still look at you as a foreigner. Yeah. So that concept of Pan-Africanism is something that needs to be ingrained in the people in South Africa.
Sorry, I've got to say, the white presenter who's from the BBC said, well, I'm white and I live in South Africa and I'm a foreigner, would you attack me? And she said, no. They said no.
Yes.
And that hit me as really poignant. So I've just cut you there because carry on. I just want to add that into to what you're saying.
That's not hatred.
Because you said about European, and I actually see that you know they're not attacking the white people that's been doing this stuff to them for how many centuries.
So, I mean, that's self-hatred, and that there's issues that happens to that of our people everywhere you go, whether it's in the Caribbean, whether it's in England. When you look at, say, knife crime or black crime, for example,
and white on white crime, because you never say white on white.
I'm saying you start that you could be going up in say, for example, when I was growing up, you could be walking in the street, for example, and be gangs of black people. You see other black people there, so what postcode are you from, where are you from, this, that, what postcode are you from, this, that, all these kind of stuff. But you see a white person go through, they don't do anything to him. Or you go to like my friend was telling me in Jamaica, when he travels to Jamaica, it's like if he goes to certain parts of Kingston, in Jamaica, it's like, when we see other black people, sometimes we see they might travel, but white people, they just let them walk right through.
Well, what's that about? I mean, why are we doing this? What is this about? Are we afraid? What is it? I mean, I don't know. What's your take on this?
Clearly that's affair. You'll have to ask the people that are doing it.
I guess.
And their reason. But as I said, it's crazy because when you look at how South Africa was, how the white people came into South Africa, similar to Zimbabwe, took the land and imposed apartheid and forced black people to live in certain areas, in shantytown-like areas in South Africa, and deprived them of going certain places and certain things, even though it was their own land, and the treatment that they got, and setting up separation similar to that Jim Crow law in America.
Yeah, segregation.
It's really a shame to see that struggle, and I would say, I'm not going to say the liberation struggle, because South Africa is still not free. You still have a lot of the white farmers that control a lot of the wealth in South Africa. But certainly to then see all the struggle that has been that's gone through in that country by the freedom fighters of South Africa, like people like Steve Biko, and the blood that's been shed. But even some of the South African people that might be doing it, their ancestors and their grandparents, through what they experienced in that generation, to see them turning on their own black people, own African people, and then not turning on, not for example, turning against the white people as well that have got the lands. Because if, like, for example, if they're going to look at foreigners away, it's just like you said, right? Why are they only doing it to African foreigners, and why are they not doing it to European foreigners?
Yeah. Why are they depriving their own? Because they don't have the wealth. They don't have the wealth. If you're going to go after wealth and you're going to go after money, you go after real wealth. These Africans are just trying to make their daily bread. They're just, trying to get through just like they are. And, whether it's resentment, whether it's jealousy, whether it's they feel that they're taking opportunities away from them, African love must come first. I'm going to have to finish now, but you know, I can't thank you enough, man. You are just the best, yeah?
Thank
Like,
you.
wow, what an amazing interview. Powerful interview, yeah? Vote Maya, yeah? Watch this man, yeah? Watch this man.
Yeah.
Okay, so what can I say?
Can I just say-
Last message?
Yeah, it just everyone wants to get a copy of my book, The Rise of Rastafari. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Makonnen Sankofa, it's got a lot more presentations and talks from me. Also, if you purchase a copy of The Rise of Rastafari, if you go on Amazon, you can purchase a copy of the book.
Yeah? Okay, and if people want to get in contact with you,
If people want to get in contact
because you're here in Gambia, so
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know my Gambian number. off the top
Do you
of my
have an
head.
email? An email?
Yes. If people want to get in contact with me, that is Makonnen Sankofa at hotmail.com.
get this book and buy it for your children, buy it for your friends, buy it for Kwanzaa. So, Bla Xit family, thanks for watching. We had a bit of an extended one today, obviously with the death of, you know, our legend and our brother, Robert Mugabe. You know, we had to touch on that, and also with some of the confusion, and I'm not going to call it xenophobia, but some of the confusion and lack of self-love that's happening with our brothers in South Africa. I think a lot of investors, we need to start throwing some money there to help, you know, change the situation. That's what we need to do. And we need to force these white corporations that have made money out of Africa to invest in programs in order to help to develop those areas where people are deprived of employment. So yeah, that's us. That's a wrap. So thank you, Bla Xit family. Please subscribe. We need as many subscribers as possible, and also please share.